Libya's Red Crescent says more than 11,000 people are now known to have died in floods in the city of Derna. Large parts of the coastal city were swept away after torrential rain caused 2 dams to burst. The UN said many of the deaths could have been avoided if Libya had a functioning weather agency. There are concerns about the spread of disease, with many bodies still lying among the ruins.
A child pulled from the mud and rubble, all that's left in this part of Derna. Her father survived the floods, but is helpless as his daughter's body is recovered. Thousands of people have been killed, and thousands more are still missing as teams search the wreckage for bodies.
This is a disaster. My sister, her children, her grandchildren, a total of 11 people. Disaster in every sense of the word. My nephews, my people, my family.
Tens of thousands of people in Derna and surrounding areas have been left without homes, food, clean water or medicine. And anger is mounting. Years of mismanagement had left the city's infrastructure crumbling.
We warned the authorities for weeks, no years, that the dam had cracks in it and needed maintenance. We said it and nobody listened to us, and now the whole of Derna is flooded.
The situation in the nearby town of Susa is similarly grim. More than a decade of conflict and no central government have left much of Libya's infrastructure neglected, with the sole mountain road that links it to the town of Shahat collapsed in the floods. They should send bulldozers. The General Electricity Company must intervene. We have been without electricity since Saturday. The water company has to get involved. They have to come to fix the drain pipes. Some aid and foreign rescue teams have arrived in Libya, but with the country divided and the roads washed away, international help is struggling to reach those in need.
Nothing is working here. No national authorities, nothing. Have a look and do something about it. We're experiencing a great injustice.
In Derna, many survivors have been left to dig through the mud and debris themselves, looking for their loved ones. The search for bodies has also moved out to sea, where many of the thousands still missing were washed away.
We can speak with Qasim Majoub, who is a relief worker with the Red Crescent Society. He joins us from Al Baida in Libya's flood-affected east. Welcome to DW. Could you please bring us up to date on the current situation there?
Welcome and thanks for having me. The day is the day number 5 since the disaster. The number has been updated. Right now we have confirmed 7,000 people died in Derna and 11,000 people still missing. And the good news that showed up here today that we have more than 500 people rescued by the international teams here in Derna, and they found them alive under the destruction of their buildings and also from the sea. The situation is getting better, to be honest, because most of the international teams find their way to Derna, and also the Libyan government, they're working on fixing the roads from the west side, because Derna has made for roads to get into the city. 3 of them were completely damaged, and we only used 1 to get inside the city. Also, we have shortage of clean drinking water, and for the LFIs, for the non-food items, for the people who lived in the areas that have not been directly affected by the storm.
Right. 500 people are pulled alive, though, so there is still a hope, even after all these days.
Everyone have a hope to find their lost family. Today, I know a friend of mine, actually, he was announced that he's dead, and we're really sad about him, but he today was rescued and he found alive and in a good health after 4 days from the disaster. So, yeah, everyone have hope.
Right. And those figures are quite staggering. More than 9,000 people are still missing, 7,000 are dead. That must be taking a terrible toll on families, not knowing where their loved ones are. And as you say, hope is the thing that must sustain so many.
Yes, sure, but the problem is that a lot of bodies, Derna has only one big hospital, so we don't have a place. They don't have a place to save the bodies for a long time. So a lot of bodies just trying to be ruined. So they bury them without even a clearance. The people there, try to save them from get identified and documented. This is a major problem, that a lot of bodies being buried without being recognized by their own families. Also, the burial place is a problem issue in Derna, because all the city is not reachable from anyone. So they bury it in a village outside the city. So when a body come to that place, the documentation try to recognize it as something very difficult.
And so how difficult do you think it will be for Libya to recover from this catastrophe?
Yes, this is a very difficult question. Besides that, we are going to enter the rainy season, the winter season, maybe in November. A lot of water infrastructure should be done and should be built again, all over again, with the right way, with the right measurements. And unfortunately, till now, there is no clear plan from the government. They put away a specific budget, a specific amount of money to try to repair the city. But not only Derna is affected, but all the Jabal Akhdar area is affected by the storm. So I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying only few of water infrastructure left in a good condition. So
right.
Winter is coming, and we don't have the ability to face it.
We wish you well with your endeavours, and thank you so much for sparing us the time. Kassim Majroub from the Red Crescent Society.
Thank you.
And joining us now from the Libyan capital, Tripoli, is Rima Lazar. She is with the relief organisation Care International. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Can you tell us whether your organisation or its partners have been able to reach the disaster areas and what they are seeing on the ground there?
Thank you. Right now, the situation on the ground is very horrific. The bodies are everywhere. They're trying to count the families and the missing people. Right now, there is no concrete numbers of the missing or the people who lost their lives. Our partners and ourselves, Care, are trying to assess the situation as much as possible and look for the immediate relief and support that can do for the area and victims.
And for the survivors, right now, what are the biggest challenges that you are facing in getting aid to people?
The biggest challenges would be that the storm destructed all the roads that leading to that area. The roads are blocked. The supply chain for food and medication, it's very difficult to reach. And one of the most significant one is shelter, where there is like more than 20,000 families who have been displaced from their homes. This is more than 50,000 people who are right now sheltered in schools, and they will be evacuated in a few days with no shelter and no place to go, who are missing the basic needs like clothes, food, and even like
people
the basic
stranded
hygiene kits.
with no place to go. And then on top of that, you have bodies piling up everywhere, pulled from the rubble, also washing in from sea. With that in mind, how concerned are you about the possible outbreak of disease there?
It is very known that a flood with this scale can cause of the aftermath with waterborne diseases. Right now, there is no concrete reports about this, and we have no further information, but we just hope for the best.
Yeah. And looking ahead, how difficult do you think it is going to be for Libya and for the people living in the affected areas to recover from this disaster? Is there any kind of timeline in mind?
Recoveries from such a disaster would take months, even years, because people in there did not lose like one family member or two. Some entire families were wiped out entirely. So the survivors, the toll of this would take a while to recover from. This is why the Care is focusing on a very extensive psychosocial support for the victims' families and the survivors of this event.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us on DW News. That is Rima Lazar from Care International joining us today from Tripoli.